Welcome back to my channel, and today we have the Eachine Racer DIY kit, compliments of Banggood. For those of you who don't know Banggood, it is an online store. I have a link down in the description where you can get the specific product, but Banggood is one of those stores who really look after their customers. Every little problem you have, their customer support really tries to sort out. So let's go ahead and open this up. Right, I just received this. I opened it up from the normal packaging, and well, there we go. We have a bit of an instruction sheet here. Now we will go through that later as we build this DIY kit. Now this one that I did order, I ordered with the NAZE32 controller, so it will be set up as such. We have a packet here containing the ESCs. I'm just going to push the box a little to the one side, and there's the flight controller board with its one connector cable. Here we have another box of goodies with the Eachine logo and a couple of connecting cables. We have two clockwise motors in this packet and two, which I would assume is counterclockwise motors in this packet. Put them on that side. Here we have the which I'm assuming is the transmitter for the FPV. We have the front face. We have a set of propellers and another set of propellers. We have the FPV transmitting antenna. We have some screws, a packet of screws, and the arms and some cable ties in the box there. I'm just going to put that a little more to the one side. We have these LEDs. Now these I have heard are pretty bright. We have a, oh, it's actually a tiny little tool set and a strap. I'll put that there. And here we get, oh hold on, there's one more little packet here. Oh, there's the little camera. Alright. And here we have the main body, the bottom and top plates. And there we go, the box is empty. Now we can get into building our Eachine Racer 250. That's that. Right, and this is for your camera mount and the dampening balls that you use for that. And that is what that little thing looks like once you have inserted these little dampener balls. They are soft and they should do their job, but there you go. So the next thing I want to pull up is our flight controller, this little NAZE32. Now I just want to make a note here. Let me just pull this manual that they have provided. Now for the NAZE32 version, they actually show it here as the white markers where your connectors are showing upwards in here as well. That is in fact incorrect. Those connectors are at the bottom. Now let me just open this up quickly and I'm going to show you what that looks like. Now that is your NAZE32 controller. Now they show it here like this, but that is incorrect. This is not the top, this is the bottom. This is in fact the top and this the bottom. So do make a note of that when you're mounting this, that we have to make sure this is at the top. Now we need these little spaces here to mount the NAS32 controller into this area. Now if I point this is, you'll see onto this board there's already soldered this LED panel, and this is going to be the front. So on your NAS32 controller, if you look at the bottom, there's the arrow, and there's a little arrow on that side as well pointing forward, and that is going to mount over there. Now in order for us to mount it there, we need the spaces which are inside this packet, and pop out these little spaces, and we are going to need these little nuts on this side, and we put these in one at a time. I now have the 4 spaces mounted, so now the next part is to mount it onto the board here using the 4 screws. Now what I must mention, that space there is very short, and this cable is going to need to go in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm first going to connect the cable and then tuck the rest of this cable underneath the flight controller so that I can plug in the other side of the connector onto this side, and then tuck it into that connector there, and there we go, and we have it connected in there very nicely, nice and tight, and now we can seat it properly there. We need these, the really short little ones. You see how nicely that tucks in there. Now if you don't plug that in before you mount this board, you might have a bit of a problem, because I think it's going to be very hard to get that plugged in there afterwards. Tighten that down. That's that one tightened on there, and there we have it. Our flight control board is now seated. The next thing we're going to do is mount our transmitter. Now let's just open it up here. Where's my... The transmitter is going to mount onto this plate. Now you can choose which side you want top, which side bottom, it doesn't really matter. It's going to go through there, and it's going to use those 2 screw holes there as well. Now the first thing you need to do, that little rubber is going to stay there, but we are going to unscrew this little screw here. Okay, and we put that down. Next thing we need, these 2 long screws, which are in this packet. Dump them out there. And then we need those 2 other little spaces and those little nuts. Okay, we are going to use those 2 little holes there. So we put our screws through there. We turn on a spacer. We turn that down nice and tight. There we go. Now you turn this upside down, and you'll see that little reset screw or button fits nicely through that hole. So that fits over there. You take one of these little nuts, pop it over there, tighten that down on both sides. Right, once we have that tightened down, we can turn it over, and we have this little nut on this side for the transmitter. Right, that's nicely secured, and that's not going to move or go anywhere. Just so we don't lose these wires and they don't disappear, we are going to connect them. Now these connectors are pretty much one way, they can't be connected the wrong way around, and you'll see how simple it is. And this one on this side, this is the video cable. Our next step is going to be to solder on the ESCs, and I just reckon that's going to be a little easier doing the ESCs first before trying to put this board on top and messing up everything. It's just going to get complicated. So the ESCs need to be go on here. You'll see there's a positive at the back, positive at the front there, and negative on that side. Now let's just open the ESCs. Now black is our ground or negative, and red is always positive. So positive to the top there, and same on that one. Positive, and the yellow just goes to the middle. That's your signal wire. That's how we're going to set them up. Now I've got an ashtray here with my, I no longer smoke. I actually gave up smoking about 2 years ago, and the ashtray now has become my nice little soldering station. What I've noticed is that these ESC wires have already been pre-tinned, so yeah, I'm just going to be tinning the connectors on this side. Let's just clean off the head a little bit. And there we go. Just put that little one side, and those are our ESCs connected. Our next step is going to be to mount the motors onto the arms. Now you've got a bag here which has a lot of screws, and we are going to need this bag. These are marked clockwise, and these are not marked. We want these cables straightened out. We're going to put them through there, and we are going to mount them. Yeah, pop in a screw. You just first get all the screws in before you tighten it down, otherwise you have a bit of a spacing issue. That is how we're going to do them. Now that we have the motors connected to all the arms, we are going to mount the arms onto the bottom plate. Right, now they mount there, so your ESC is at the bottom. Once you've attached all the arms and tightened down all the screws, the next step is going to be to solder on the ESCs onto the motors. We don't know what the motor spin direction is going to be yet, so we are just going to take them through 1 to 1. So don't cable tie these until we have confirmed the motor spin directions, because you may need to desolder these again to change the motor spin direction. And to change the motor spin direction, all you need to do is just change any two wires. So it's outer two, inner two, it doesn't matter. Change the direction of any two wires, and you're going to change the spin. And pull across, and that's nicely tight. And there we go. That's going to hold. Now we've soldered on all the motors onto the ESCs, but don't tuck these in and cable tie them down, because we are going to have to confirm the motor directions first. I've decided the next thing I want to do first is just get this faceplate connected. So let me just take that one side for now. Bring in these LEDs. Let's just pull all of this out. That's the faceplate and our LED. Now the LED lights just pop in there. They fall in loosely. There's nothing holding them on there. But you'll see at the bottom there are ports for little recess screws, which we find in this little packet. There's just 2 of them. You pop that in from the bottom and screw it in, and there we go, nicely seated. Okay, and that is not going to go anywhere. It is going to be mounted in there. Now the cables that power these are these two, this side and this side. Now there's a positive to the front and negative to the back, so do bear in mind your polarity. So that's red to the front on both sides for the faceplate. The next thing we need to get ready is our little camera. Now the top of the camera, if you look at it like this, you'll see there's a little curvature part there at the top. That's the top. So you're going to mount it in there. You'll see there's a little slot there, and this curved part is to the top because that pops in there. But we're not going to mount that as such now. What we're going to do is connect the cable. So we bring our top plate. Now the 3 connector cable is the one that connects on this side, and it's red to the top and yellow right to the bottom. So we pop that in there. This wire is the power wire which mounts to this part of your board. It goes right in there, and that's polarity is to the front. I pretty much made everything with a positive to the front, which is a nice little touch. There we go. So that is almost ready. In our bags we got these little carbon fiber spacers, and we need them because each leg is going to need 2 of them. Now we use the last 4 screws to tighten the faceplate down. Turn in, but don't tighten yet until you have everything, all the screws in, otherwise you might have a bit of a spacer problem. It's a lot easier twisting and turning things while they're a little loose, and if you tighten one down too much it gets hard. Okay, this is the last screw, so I'm tightening that one and tightening the others. There we go. Right, now this little camera mount, or the vibration plate, you might want to mount on here, or you're probably going to mount it on there if you want to mount a camera on there. Either way, depending on how your camera is orientated, and you just squeeze those through again. I'm not going to mount that for now, but obviously the next steps would be take your antenna. Please always remember that your transmitter antenna must be on your quadcopter before you power it on, otherwise you may damage the transmitter. So always make sure that your transmitter is on, or your antenna for your transmitter is on the transmitter before you power it on. There you go, guys. That's the pretty basics of it for now. Okay, the next thing I'm going to be doing is connecting up my receiver. Now I am going to be using this Radiolink R10D receiver because I have a Radiolink AT10 transmitter. So yeah, this is a spare receiver I have, and I'm just going to be connecting that up. And to do that, we take this cable, which has all these funny cables. Now these first 2 are power. I'm going to show you how the white one is actually a signal cable for your channel 1, and then you have the center wire, which is positive, which is standard, and then negative, which is your ground at the bottom, which is standard on all these receivers. So you plug that in way down over there. That's nicely seated in there now. Next thing, we have to follow these cables. Now we know white is channel 1, and we match that up to channel 1 on this side. Now that's also going to give us our power rail there, and then we just follow this The next cable is this light blue one, channel 2, and so forth. We are now going to just follow that same and connect the one after the other until we have all the channels connected onto the R10D receiver. Right, and there we go. Connecting the last channel. Right, so that's all of them connected. The next thing we need to do is connect the USB cable. I've got a standard USB cable with the USB mini and standard USB on that side. That's going to go to the computer, and we plug that in right there on the board. Okay, and then we're going to go to the computer. Don't plug this in yet. I just want to show you a couple of steps that you need to do before you plug this in.